qualifying standard. So we have a fair amount of Americans in this race, but we also have some international athletes like Rose Harvey and Lauren Ryan. Harvey is a British athlete running for Puma Racing Elite, and Ryan is Australian, just signed on with Under Armour, the former FSU athlete, and you can see her jumping in behind the pacer in that yellow top. But this race for 31:45 here, that's about 76 seconds per lap as we get a great drone shot of the athletes going into the 200-meter mark.
I love these shots. So pretty.
Yeah, we've shout out to Ivan on the drone over there.
It's such a great way to see sort of the, we've talked about before, you can tell the pace based on kind of the shape of the pack, and it's such a great way to be able to see really what that looks like from above. Because, with the long shots from a distance, it's hard to really gauge, but seeing it from above gives you such a clear sense of, kind of how this race has gotten out from the start.
And that's part of the difficulty in putting together these broadcasts too, is figuring out how you can get closer to the athletes and show the action on the track, show the emotion and all of that. Every angle you can get, and the drone shots definitely do that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It looks like Lauren Ryan is out there getting a bit of a gap on the pack right now. I believe that is Melissa Lodge who is pacing, and pace is slated for 15:50 to 15:55 through 5,000 meters, which would put them around that 31:45 target.
And as you said, 76 per lap would be that target pace. Melissa Loge is right on it, and Lauren Ryan is the only one currently that went with her. They both crossed first 400 meters in 76 seconds.
The rest of the pack looks to be around 77 high, 78 low.
But, in these longer distances, that it depends on the athlete and kind of their makeup, because some of them would want to get out and get that pace from the gun and just crank out lap after lap at it. Other athletes who maybe have a little bit more speed or maybe don't do as much volume in training but want to be able to tap into the speed that they do carry might be better served by getting out a little slower and then just closing strong. I mean, we talked about the 10K American record that was set last year, closing in a blazing fast last lap.
And this is another, 76 low for Ryan, so right where she wants to be. Mm-hmm. Last year in this race, we saw Lauren Hurley basically take this all by herself in the latter stages of the race and come so close to 31:45. I think she was right outside. But an amazing effort to just run solo, and a precursor to the world race where Elise Cranny did the same thing out front.
Yeah, you said 7K.
7K. 7K alone. That'll be the title of a memoir, I think.
There we go.
But, yeah, Lauren Hurley out here. There's a number of women in this field who are running their debut on the track for 10,000 meters, excuse me. A fun story here, Rose Harvey running for Puma, and we were talking to the Puma Racing Elite team yesterday, and they said that, Rose Harvey is a 2:27 marathoner, and she's only been running for 3 years. She was a lawyer before that, and she could still be a lawyer. They didn't say whether she was or not, but this is her debut on the track in 10,000 meters, and she's run 2:27 in the marathon, like I said, but she's got a lot of untapped potential. I think I don't know what it's like coming into a race as an adult, and we don't have those opportunities a lot to run on the track for the first time.
Yeah, in kind of reading her story beforehand, I think it's, she's British. She's as you said, a finance lawyer turned pro runner. And we're seeing some of those stories these days, right? Look at Kira Diamato, who goes on to set the American record after having 2 kids and working as a realtor. And it's exciting to see her also as a part of this Puma team, led by Alistair Cragg out in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the Research Triangle, and setting themselves up in a place where there's good access to, he spoke about why he chose that as a location, and that it was one where the cost of living was good, where there were good trails to train on, where there were good medical staff to help keep the athletes healthy. And you've seen the athletes in his group already having really great successful races, like Natasha Rogers and her indoor big PB in the 5K.
And here we see Lodge and Ryan come up to the 1600 split 5:05. So they're on pace.
Yeah, 5:05 is spot on for the space that they would, or the pace that they would like to have.
They're on pace for 31:45, and Lauren Ryan is Australian, so not looking to get into the U.S. champs, but a good target to hit.
Absolutely.
And behind her, let's see what the rest of the field came through in about 5:15. So they're running about 78, 79 second pace. Michaela Reinhart is leading that for Railroad Athletics out of Austin down there. And Mary Beth Chalanga, too, is in that second pack. And you can see that on the screen here. We've got the first duo up here on your left, and then the second pack, chase pack here, running about 78, 79 second pace behind them.
You can see them strung out as well, telling me that they're not dawdling. They couldn't quite go with that lead pack. It's always interesting, with the lead pack separation, as in the later stages, sometimes you get that chase pack that ends up clipping off relatively the same splits, but there's just a distance that is formed. So we'll keep an eye on that for everybody here. But the leaders, the pacer, that last lap for her was 77, and Ryan was 77 as well. For the chase pack, Reinhart was 78. So, they are running a little bit slower, but not significantly. However, that gap has formed from those quicker, earlier laps, and now it'll probably, I would imagine, stay that way, and we won't see much shrinkage of that lead from the lead pack to the chase pack until the pacer drops out and, Ryan has to kind of go on her own.
Yeah, so Ryan, at this point, she knows that she's going to be on her own for the second half of the race unless she gets some help coming out from that second pack. But that's what this race is all about here, testing your limits.
Absolutely.
And like we were saying, you don't get an opportunity to run the 10,000 meters very often. It is a rare and beautiful beast that we don't get to glimpse as track fans a lot of the time, but the 10 is a great opportunity for us to be able to do that. And it's interesting, too, thinking about that for these athletes, that there aren't a ton of opportunities for them to be able to do this. And we were talking with, I talked with Will Lear and Des Linden last week, and it's not like it's a 1,500. It's not like you can have a bad race and then, we'll just jump in another one next week or another one after that or another one after that. You've trained for a few months for this 10,000 meters, and if it doesn't go quite your way, then you got to chew on that for a little bit. So that's a lot of pressure heading into this.
Yeah, and you used to have, it used to be that Stanford was kind of the opportunity to run a 10K, but Stanford isn't until April, May. These athletes were having to wait until kind of late in the season. There weren't really any other opportunities for them to run a fast 10K. By having this meet here, we had, some athletes who were able to use the indoor season as a kind of gear up for the indoor season is a test for where their fitness was at, but end the indoor season with this outdoor 10K and an opportunity to get a qualifying time while still leaving enough time that they can either they got the time, check, can go back into their base training and building up exactly as they want to for that championship, or should they, not get the time, then they'd still have another opportunity in that, May time frame to give it a go again. But historically, without a race like this, if the athlete didn't hit it in April, May, they'd be trying again and again, and then you start to run up on the championships and you start to have nothing left when the actual most important race count comes along.
And the paces lagged slightly up front for Lodge and Ryan, 80 seconds, and Michaela Reinhart running 79 seconds is all alone now. The chase pack behind her is running, as you can see on the screen, 80-second laps. But Reinhart of Railroad Athletics is embarking on this journey alone. And we've got Lauren Ryan now overtaking Lodge. So Lauren Ryan has decided that 80 seconds is not what she wants, and she's going to do this herself.
Yeah, that was an 80 for Lodge, 80 for Ryan. And actually, the chase pack with Reinhart was 79, so slightly quicker, with Grace Moore in fourth, third if you remove the pacer, in an 80. So we were saying before, sometimes the lead pack ends up running the same time as the chase pack, but that gap has already been formed, and now Ryan is just left to, put in the work for the remaining 7,000 meters of the race.
And she just passed 2 miles here, 10:16. And that was a 76-second lap. So immediately getting right back on pace.
Right.
She knew that's what she needed to do, and she's taken it herself. Not afraid to do the work.
Yeah.
We do have Michaela Reinhart, like we said, coming through in 10:32. As you can see up there on the board, 10:32 through 2 miles, or 3,200 meters. Moore in 10:36. Grace Moore of the Leonia Track Club. Mary Beth Chalanga, 10:37. Amelia Kaiser-Gibson, Cascadia Elite, 10:37 too in that pack. Rose Harvey is in that pack at 10:37. Madison Offstein, Hanson Brooks is in there, 10:38, as well as Stephanie Sherman from Hanson Brooks too, 10:38. So there's a giant pack there. Lindsey Graham of Roots running too.
We just saw one athlete move up. There was a gap in the chase, we had the chase pack leader, and then a bit of a gap had formed. And so we just had an athlete move up to kind of reestablish some connection. Try to get that name for you. But for reference as well, Ryan, wanted to be at 3,600 meters at 11:26. She hit 11:32, but she's made up some good ground because, she had that 80-second lap in lap 7, but then lap 8 was 76, lap 9 was 75. So she has gotten herself right back to where she wants to be.
And if she is trying to claw back time from that 80-second lap, she's doing it in a very smart way. Just a tenth of a second at a time, looking at that 75-second lap that she just clicked off. And Reinhardt still getting those 79s in there. That
Grace Moore moving up. I think it was Grace Moore who had moved up from a little further back in the chase pack to be in that, right off the chase pack leader, or perhaps Offstein. Is this our second place?
Yeah, that is
Yes.
Michaela Reinhart on
There
the
we
right
go.
there.
Okay, so Grace Moore then and Offstein in the next chase pack was the movement that I was referencing.
And these are your 3,600 meter splits, or cumulative time here on the screen. So a good pack there at the 11:56, 11:57 mark. Amelia Kaiser-Gibson of the Cascadia Elite has come down here. She ran here last year. That's where she got her PR. And she's a Seattleite, 33. Actually, no, I'm sorry. She got her PR at the Portland Track Festival in the driving rainstorm last year, 10,000 meters, 33:28. The next day, she came back and raced in the Seattle versus Portland 3K and was the top woman finisher in that race, doing it for her city. Seattle eked out a win over Portland there, and Portland's still feeling that.
They're still recovering.
But she's in here. 2:36. She hit the standard in Sacramento at CIM. So ducked under that 2:37 mark for the marathon, qualified for the Olympic trials there. She's working with the Hanson Brooks athletes, Hanson Brooks Distance Project, as well as Rose Harvey in that second pack, or in that third chase, I want to say, because Michaela Reinhart is in no man's land out there right now between Lauren Ryan and the third chase. But Lauren Ryan out here out front. And she's still doing the work solo, coming through. That was a 77 lap for her at 4,400 meters. So or 78, I'm sorry. Her previous lap 10 was a 77. So she hit that 75, then a 77.3, and then a 78.08. So she's getting into that tough part of the 10K now, where she's not quite halfway.
And we have to give her a shout out too, that she just early in February announced that she had signed with Under Armour as a pro athlete for her pro athlete contract, and she made a post as well, kind of looking at the indoor season or just the career that she had. This was from February 12th. You know, 4-time NCAA, number 4 NCAA all-time World Indoor Championship standard, ACC record, FSU record, check. And really, you know, had some magical experiences at BU. So she is having, you know, I'm imagining came into this race with some big goals.
Yeah, she's an accomplished runner for Florida State. Her personal best is 32:16, and that was set at Box Hill. A lot of the races a lot of good 10,000 meters run at Box Hill down in Australia. So she was on that 31:45 pace for a while here, but even if she misses that a little bit, hopefully she can still get a PR, with her PR being 32:16. So she's through 4,800 meters, and I believe this will be 5,000 meters coming up to this mark down the back straight, and we'll see what that is. She's going to be just over 16 minutes, and here we go. It's 16:04.
Goal would be 15:53 for her for the pace we've been talking about.
But double that time, and that gets her under a PR still. That would be 32:08 with her PR being 32:16. PB for those of you watching down in Australia. And we're going to go down to Colleen and see what she says trackside.
Hey,
all right, Colleen,
hey
what
guys,
are you seeing trackside
Can you hear
here?
me?
We got you.
Awesome. Yes. Still immaculate vibes out here, and I will say that I know this is the B heat, but this is so legit, the pace these women are running out here. I don't know if you guys have already been talking about that because I can't hear you, but yeah, this pace is legit for a B heat. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's the theme of tonight, is legit.
Yeah.
So legit. And the crowd is into it. Like, I feel like people know what's going on here, which, you know, for a 10K, it can be kind of tough out here. You're just going round and round for 25 laps, and it's hard to keep the energy up. But I do feel like the crowd appreciates the work that's being put in right now.
What's it like with your fellow Noel out there? She's leading the race.
I always love seeing the Knowles do well. Yeah, I haven't seen, you know, a lot of people come out of FSU lately, and so I'm really excited whenever I get to see my Knowles.
Well, I'm curious too. I mean, Lauren Ryan looks phenomenal in the photo. How is she looking up close down trackside?
I would say still relaxed. You know, we still have a lot of running left to do, so it's a little hard to tell at this point, but still relaxed. And I think you can tell a lot from like facial expressions and, you know, kind of how tight, like, or stressed the forehead looks. And I'm not seeing a lot of that yet. And I'm not seeing a lot of like side to side, you know, my coach used to call it driving the bus when you start going side to side instead of forward and back, you know, with your arms when you get tired. So we're not seeing that yet either. And again, a lot of running left to do, unfortunately, but I think still looking really strong and smooth.
And what about this chase pack with Grace Moore and Michaela Reinhart? We had, you know, it was sort of strung out, and there was one person and another person, and then, and then the group. Now that has changed again, and we have Grace Moore and Reinhart together. Talk to us about that group as well and what you're seeing there.
Yeah, I mean, I've, again, never run a 10K, but I feel like it must be so hard to be stuck in no man's land. I was really impressed last year. If anyone was watching the race last year, Dominique Scott got stuck in that position where Elise Craney was out in front just, you know, going after the record and ended up getting a second from that record. And Dominique Scott was like out in no man's land, and she was actually running really fast, but all by herself. And I remember watching her most of the race because I was like, that is not a fun spot to be when you're, you know, grinding it out and you just feel like you're kind of do it on your own, like a time trial. So, I mean, anyone who, even if you have one other person, two other people that bodies near you, that is just so helpful to feel like, okay, I'm staying engaged, I'm not zoning out, I'm not falling asleep here. You got to have contact with, at least one other body. So that has to help.
Absolutely. And how are you feeling looking at, or how's the crowd feeling looking at going into these top races this evening, too?
Yeah, I mean, I think the high schoolers got us started off really well because they just blasted, and everyone was psyched up for that. So, it is a small, it's a high school track. It's not, like a huge stadium. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, this is kind of perfect. It's definitely not, like, Diamond League status. It's not super high-key race, but it's more than a time trial. It's more than practice. Like you can feel the energy of the vibe. I feel like we're in that perfect in between, where it's low key enough, where you're not super nervous, like you don't feel like it's super high pressure and all this like hoopla. It's still pretty simple. But again, like you don't want it to feel like a time trial. You don't want it to feel like you're just at practice. You want it to feel like a race, a meet, and you want the energy. And that helps with the music is awesome. And the crowd, the crowd's into it. So I feel like we're really in that sweet spot here where this is where, good performances can really happen.
Yeah.
We're about an hour out from the men's 10K, so you should probably be seeing those guys start warming up soon. So you'll have to keep your eyes peeled on the infield and outfield for them as they get the process started for the big
Yeah,
ones
totally.
ahead.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some of the women just starting to do some foam rolling, getting the numbers on, slowly getting themselves organized as well. So, yeah, I mean, we're just going to keep building here. I think that most people are doing their jogs outside of the stadium, just, a little quiet warm-up. But then the drills and the strides are happening here on the infield, so we can watch everyone's warm-up process.
Perfect. Sounds great. Well, we'll catch up with you a little later, Colleen. Enjoy the scene trackside.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
All right, so we have Lauren Ryan now starting to lap racers here. She lapped, a couple of runners, Lindsay Adams and Lindsey Graham, and she has crossed 6,800 meters in 21:55 and is clicking off 67 to 68.
21:35 would be her the target pace that we've been talking about for that 31:45 time. She had, she's really been consistent. There's been some 60s or 77s, some 78s. Now she's back around that 77, 78 again. She keeps staying right around there. She seems to have settled into that, but clicking them off again and again, all well within, half a second of each other. And when I look at her too, that's what is exciting to me because her form, her mechanics have just stayed consistently strong and fluid since she started.
Yeah, 77, 78s for her. It looks like 80s for Reinhart and Grace Moore there. And it's great that Grace Moore was able to come up and do some work with Michaela Reinhart there.
Was the chase pack, are they 3 now, or is there a pass going on?
I believe there is a pass going on here because we still have just Grace Moore and Michaela Reinhart at 22:34 and 5 at 6,800 meters. And then the next pack is 22:44.
Uh-huh.
So that looks like Amelia Kaiser Gibson out front there. And she's in 5th place. So this is the pack of Kaiser Gibson,
Yes.
Madison Offstein, and Mary Beth Chalanga.
There we are.
And then you see the two out front there on the right. And then Lauren Ryan is about 40 seconds ahead of the group as she passes 7,200 meters.
And that third group of 3, that trio, they're running about 82s for their splits, just for anyone who's kind of curious where they're at.
And here That's 7,600 here. So the next split we're going to get is 8K, but this was a 77 for Lauren Ryan, 2430 through 7,600. So she's settling into 77 mid pace. And then there's Rose Harvey on the screen here with Lauren Ryan coming up to her. So the marathoner, Rose Harvey, 227. This is her first race on the track. Any time she gets tonight will be a PR.
It's a nice one. It's got to be interesting coming from the marathon, such a longer distance, but also on the roads, and kind of the headspace that you have to be in for track racing, especially a 25-lap track race.
It's a lot of laps, but that's what we're here for.
Yes, we are.
25 grueling laps back to the scene of the grind from last year. We've got the women's race coming up, or the World Women's Race coming up a little later this evening too. Last year, like we said, we've been referencing Elise Cranny's amazing race going 7,000 meters alone. She had help for the first 3K, but nobody could stay with her. She went 15:04 through the first 5,000, and then 15:10 for the second 5,000. And the last 3 laps of her race, 74, 75, but then she was able to drop to 67 to try and get that record because she was trying to grab it, following the wave lights at that point too, but just slightly off. As we keep an eye on the screen here, we're going to send it down to Colleen again, and she's got Jen Rines with the Golden Coast Track Club. And we're going to give them a little bit more time there. We take a look here on the screen, find ourselves on the track.
We're watching that third chase pack, that trio working together as they, and I believe, that's our leader, Ryan, lapping an athlete.
Yep. So Ryan's still out in front.
It was a 78. 25:49 for the cumulative time at 8K. That's about 25 seconds or so off of what we had been initially projecting.
And we're going to head down to Colleen and Jen right now.
All right, I got Jen Ryan from the Golden Coast Track Club, and she's got Katie Izzo in the second heat of the women's 10K. So I'm not taking her away from coaching duties. We're yet to come with Katie. But Jen, I just wanted to ask you about preparation, how things are going with Katie's training, and give us a little preview of what we've got going on tonight.
Katie's at a really exciting point in her career because she was really fit last summer, got an injury, and set the goal of making the world cross country team, and she placed 6th and made her first international team back in January. She went to Australia, competed tough there, and now she's here tuned up and really excited for this 10K. So she's kind of at that point where she's coming into her own, so she's just excited to get out here and try to get a big PB tonight.
Amazing. And I just giggled because that course in Australia just seemed like you have to giggle when you watch that. What was the experience like for Katie there?
It was a great learning experience. Like I said, it was her first world champs, and she, maybe it went out a hair hard, but not too much. And it was just I think exciting for her to just get out there and mix it up with everybody. Yeah.
Awesome. So coming off that, we saw another runner, Leo Young, also competed there, and then kind of hopped in here last minute being I have no idea where I'm going to be. It is kind of tough to come off that, and then, do you take a break, or do you just hop back into training? You've got a long summer coming. What was the strategy? It's, hard time of the year to figure out racing schedules.
For Katie, it was just, the strategy was just to kind of keep the momentum going. And one of our athletes, Emily Lapari, actually lives in Hawaii. Her husband's stationed there in the military, so Katie did, and Emily traveled back to Hawaii. She got a little training in there midway back, came back here, and it's just just ready to go.
That sounds perfect.
To avoid jet lag.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited. Good luck to Katie, and can't wait to see how this next 10K shakes out.
All right, thanks, Colleen. We are inside. We are coming up to the bell lap right now for Lauren Ryan. So she clicked off 77.9 for that penultimate, or we have 2 laps to go. Excuse me.
We got excited.
Yeah, inside 3 laps to go. We are not at the bell lap.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well. For those of you trying to calculate the pace, we were talking about PBs. Just to try to break 32 minutes for her. She split 29:42 at 9,200 meters. 29:26 would be what she needed for the sub 32. So we're gonna get her PB up and get the splits for that, so we can help you track her performance there.
And I lost my mind for a second there. We have 2 laps to go here in the 10,000 meters. So up to 9,200 meters, she ran 77.2. And she's been steadily ratcheting down the pace the past few laps. So she hit that 78.7 and then 77.98, 77.97, and then 77.24. So she's getting more comfortable with where she is and feeling out this distance and seeing what she has in the tank. And we'll get to see kind of what she gets to rip in this final lap here.
She is right on PB pace. So for a 32.16 for a 10K at 9,200 meters would be 29.41. She hit 29.42. So my guess is, as we hear the bell being rung, that she is going to be trying to close hard to get that PB.
And that was a 76.3 here inside the bell lap for Lauren Ryan. 32.16 on her mind. That's her PR. So 30.58 at the bell.
She looks great. Her mechanics, she's picking it up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that PB is going to be taken down.
Yeah, she is really going to the arms here with 200 meters to go. This is all Lauren Ryan, and it has been since 4,000 meters. So final 6,000 meters pretty much on her own. But this is Lauren Ryan driving with 150 meters to go. We're getting a glimpse of her behind the bleachers and seeing what she can do. She's coming to the finish line here for the first heat of the women's 10,000 meters. 32 minutes on the clock. Her personal best is 32.16. Driving to the tape, the newly signed Under Armour athlete from Australia. And it's a new personal best for her, 32.10, thereabouts. 32.09.82 officially. 71-second final lap. And here is the second race per second. Grace Moore is up there, and still Michaela Reinhart trying to hang on to her.
But just a phenomenal race for Ryan, to go out, to have the pacer run up, I think, past the pacer, and then take home a big PB.
And it's a race here. Michaela Reinhart clawing back on Grace Moore for second place. We'll see. Reinhart is going to the arms. She's swinging them. Can Grace Moore hang with her? Moore is buckling down here, trying to hang on to Reinhart, but Reinhart got her eyes on the finish line. She's done a lot of work here in this race. 33.08 and about 33.10 or so for Grace Moore. 33.09.44. So that's your top 3. Oh, and we got a race here. This is Amelia Kaiser Gibson and Madison Offstein of the Hansons Brooks Distance Project. And Offstein comes in stopping the watch right there at the finish line. Offstein, a former 800, 1,500 meter runner from Princeton. And Stephanie Sherman here coming in for Hansons Brooks Distance Project. And then this is Rose Harvey, the marathoner, running her first 10,000 meters on the track. Everybody's stopping their watch. There we go.
Mary Beth Chilanga came in right after Rose Harvey.